Utah restaurants are truly special places where community is fostered, connections are cultivated, and curiosity is ignited. Some of our most captivating Taste Utah stories begin with the opportunity that working in a restaurant offers, the chance to discover a desire to create something meaningful, something extraordinary. Whether it's the culinary vision of a chef, the warm hospitality of an owner, or the quiet leadership of a culture champion, our favorite Taste Utah restaurants understand that experience is the wise teacher, and the lesson is often served on the plate. We savor not only the flavors, but also the intention behind the setting, the atmosphere, the energy, the care. OQUIRRH is a shining example of that collective spirit. Drew and Angie, a husband and wife team, met while working at Copper Onion in downtown Salt Lake City. Angie refined her gift for front-of-the-house hospitality, while Drew unearthed his passion for cooking with fresh, seasonal ingredients. A passion rooted in his own upbringing, where home-cooked meals and garden-grown produce were the norm. OQUIRRH is an experience. It's where guests feel seen, nourished, and delighted by inventive, ingredient-driven dishes that linger in memory long after the meal is over. We're honored to share the story of OQUIRRH, a place where potential becomes reality and where every bite tells a story. This week on Taste Utah. Drew and Angie have gone from being integral members of Salt Lake's top restaurant teams to creating their own place at the table, now as peers, as mentors, as community builders. That's what makes Utah restaurants so extraordinary. We create spaces where passion is nurtured, talent is cultivated, and the next chapter begins. One of my favorite things about the two of your story is that you've worked within the Salt Lake City food community for a really long time.
I started at Sizzler.
Okay.
Then I went to the Grand America, Glen Wild Country Club, Hotel Park City, and then for the local scene, Stone Ground, Trio, Copper Onion, Post Office Place.
I was working at Jeremy Ranch Country Club.
Okay.
As kind of a side gig, and so when I got back into restaurants full time, I started working brunches at Copper Onion. That was 2010. Copper Onion was kind of the first step into myself taking this industry and this career trajectory seriously.
Totally. Well, so we featured Copper Onion, I think, in our very first season of Taste Utah, and we were like in the kitchen with Ryan, and he was making beef stroganoff because like that's a signature like menu item at Copper. You can't take it off. I'm sure you made your fair share after you moved through the brunch.
I
did. Copper Onion is one of these sort of what we like to think of as like a legacy restaurant in Utah, where James Beard nominated Ryan Lauder and helped incubate some of the greatest restaurant professionals that we actually know now, like both of you.
When I left Copper Onion, Angie ended up staying there for another few years afterwards. But I left Copper Onion to go be the sous chef at Pago on 9th and 9th.
It's like you almost couldn't have worked for two better groups to start to incubate what would eventually become OQUIRRH.
You know, once I decided that I wanted to take this as seriously as learning how to run and operate my own kitchen and my own restaurant, you want to go and you want to work for the people that are doing the best job.
Totally.
And so those two restaurants specifically were at the top of my list from day one.
Then where?
I took a little break. I did some staging or internships in San Francisco at a 3 Michelin star restaurant called OQUIRRH.
Yeah.
I did
That's impressive.
Weeks at Blue Hill Stone Barns, which is Dan Barber's restaurant in upstate New York.
Oh, cool.
And then after I got back from my time off, I helped open the kitchen at HSL just around the corner from me.
Yes. So let's get a little bit of backstory when we think about OQUIRRH. Tell us how long OQUIRRH has been here and how long you've been in operation.
We opened at the end of February in 2019. We were open just over a year. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary when COVID hit. We were lucky to get that head start, but we weathered the storm. We're back doing brunch now. We do dinner 7 nights a week, and so you know where to find us.
The outside is welcoming, and then the inside is just like, right now we're sitting in a room of hearts, but it's like exemplified by that, but that's how I feel when I walk in here, you know, which I think is really special.
We knew with the building having so much character that we needed to create that the welcoming environment. It's a small space, so there's other challenges, but we needed to make people feel like they were having dinner at home.
You chose to work at restaurants that obviously were very driven by ingredient, were intentional outsourcing, kind of farm to table, and where that is what you were used to. Was that an intentional choice of yours, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very easy to tell the difference in quality and flavor. You know, my perspective on cooking and my food ideas just comes from a very natural place. I grew up in a family where we had a large garden in the summers. My mom and dad were great about, you know, cooking meals for my brother and I, you know, 5-6 nights a week. So I just kind of grew up eating home cooked meals and fresh produce, and that, you know, that's why I gravitated towards those restaurants that cook that way in the first place. We're very lucky not only to have an incredible growing season here in Utah, but we're very lucky to also have all of the amazing farmers that we work with.
There's a clear passion for wanting to honor an ingredient. I mean, on the table right now, I look at the potatoes. It's one of the most beautiful, flavorful, intelligently crafted menu items in the greater Salt Lake Valley. It really is so special. I think it's indicative of what you do. The front of the house, hospitality, it really feels so welcoming and inclusive. And I was talking to Angie earlier. Angie has this like heart of gold, hospitality, compassion that I don't experience in many people. And I think that is a huge part of also what is like a power couple. You play off of each other's strengths really well.
The intention really, though, for the restaurant from the get-go is to be able to not have like a genre being like, hey, you're fine dining, hey, you're this. The intention was to have really good food with really good service, and it make you feel like more like your family. And even as an adult, hey, you're my friend. Like, you're not just going to another restaurant. Like, the dynamic was always to incorporate both, because people are generally going to be happier with, hey, they're getting to know us as well. It's not just food oriented, it's everything. We want everything to bring you back for the experience.
This space is very much like a home to us, and you know, we're almost always going to be here to welcome you, and we do put our own stamp on it. It's unique to us, but not unique to anybody else's personal stamp, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, one thing that Angie and I were very intentional about was kind of not having that separation between the front of the house and the back of the house.
Yeah.
And you know, clearly, you know, I'm the chef, I run the kitchen, and she is amazing in her hospitality role. But we really do try to kind of meld the two worlds together and have a lot of conversations in the dining room about the food. And you know, most of the time I am, you know, roaming through the dining room or answering questions or even seating guests if need be. And so we really try to make it all encapsulating as opposed to, you know, separated front and back.
What we've learned over the last 11 seasons of Taste Utah is that the restaurant industry, at its heart, is about growing culture. And more often than not, that begins with simple ingredients. It doesn't get more simple or more humble than a loaf of sourdough bread. Just water, flour, and a starter. a living culture that must be nurtured, fed, and kept alive so it can continue to grow, rise, and impart depth and flavor. A neighborhood restaurant is exactly the same. With good food, great people, and a whole lot of love and care, it becomes a living, breathing space, rich with flavor, connection, and community. We're back at OQUIRRH, celebrating a quintessential neighborhood restaurant and breaking the bread that sits at the heart of it all.
I made that starter in 2014. 2014,
It's
I
been
made
a
the
life
starter.
since then.
Yeah, people ask us for our starter occasionally,
Okay.
Which I'm always happy to give out.
Wow.
People are surprised by that
Yeah.
because they wonder why I would be willing to lend, my special OQUIRRH flavor to, their households or wherever they're making their bread.
Yeah.
But the reality of the starter is that once you get it into your own environment and you're feeding it your own flour and your own blend, and it's feeding off of the natural yeasts in the air,
Yeah.
in your kitchen or wherever you're making your bread, it's going to transform that starter into your own.
Yeah.
So if OQUIRRH were to ever be making bread in another space, then that would change the bread as well. When the starter is ripe,
Yeah.
it has it's built up enough bacteria and gas to get mixed into fresh flour and a room temperature-ish water.
Okay.
So you mix you let your flour hydrate.
Okay.
And then after it rests for a little bit, you add in a little more water and you add your salt. And then through a series of what we call turns,
Okay.
we do that by hand. So we do a no-knead technique where the bread just stays in its container and stays nice and contained as we build the structure of that bread and let it ferment before we put it in the refrigerator overnight.
And then you create separate little boules, would you say?
Yeah. You just separate your big batch of dough into your separate loaves, and then we'll proof those separately.
Okay.
And then they get baked off. Yeah, about 20 minutes in the cast iron.
Okay. You put it in cast iron, which I've actually never seen done. Why do you do that, and what's the thought behind it?
So we bake our bread in the cast iron because we don't have a fancy oven to bake the bread in.
Okay.
Typically, bread-specific ovens require steam injection or more of a system to hold that steam in. And so that's what the cast iron does. The cast iron is going to be the number one way people making bread at home are going to make it in their home ovens, because the weight of the cast iron seals in that humidity and that moisture that comes off of the bread as it bakes.
Okay.
And that being close enough to the crust is what is necessary to make that really golden and hard crust and allow your bread to get maximum rise. So along with our sourdough bread, we're serving it with a European style high fat content butter, a little bit of sea salt, and fresh radishes that we get from our friends at Frog Bench Farms.
Oh, I love it.
We have our very popular potato dish that has been on the menu since day one. Milk braised potatoes, where we cook the potatoes as we make the ricotta cheese.
Wow.
We take the whey that's left over and we reduce it down into what we call whey vinaigrette. It gets sweet and salty and savory. And then we garnish the dish simply with members of the alum family. So we've got pickled shallots and roasted cipollini onions, chives and scallions. In the springtime, when some of those other family members are really growing strong, we'll have maybe garlic scapes or wild onion blossoms. Chive blossoms always make an appearance in the springtime on that dish. We then have our one of our pasta dishes that we're currently running. It's a house-made spaghetti pasta. We're doing it with a really simple corn puree on the bottom, some wild mushrooms. That gets some fresh corn, a little bit of chili flake, and shaved pecorino cheese.
Yeah, get in on it. It's like all the way over here.
Come on in.
Yeah, okay, good. It's beautiful. Your pasta dishes are like hands down some of my favorite things on the menu. I mean, there's so much goodness on the menu, which also speaks really highly because the menu isn't like a 3-page long menu, you know? It's like every time I come in here, number one, it's seasonal, so there's always something new to try. And then number two, it's like, well, what do I get this time? So I have to come in with like a lot of people so that I can at least put my fork in almost everything on your menu.
Yeah, we're always working really hard to find that balance of keeping some of the familiar items around, like the potatoes.
Yeah.
Obviously the bread isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But then changing everything seasonally so that, you know, like you said, people get to try new things as well.
We're back at OQUIRRH in Salt Lake City, where every detail from the house-made sourdough to the art on the walls and thoughtfully crafted beverages is a reflection of care, community, and commitment to craft. It's a space where passion rises and every guest is welcome like family. OQUIRRH is a shining example of what makes Utah's food scene so extraordinary and why we can't wait to taste what's next.
Everything on our menu is ultimately driven by the dining room.
Yeah.
When we put things on the plate, no matter how great we might think it is, the people in the dining room have to think it's great as well. So we have our Idaho red trout that we're getting from Riverence Trout Farm. It's outside of Twin Falls, Idaho. I've been using this trout for years. It's a fantastically consistent product for us. We are serving that over a little salad. We are dressing that salad in anchovy dressing.
Ooh.
We're serving it with a smoky eggplant puree.
Okay.
That actually really plays well with the rest of the flavors and the anchovies in that dish. If you want to keep that eggplant puree separate, then it's great like that. But if you want to kind of mellow out that anchovy flavor and you mix everything together, it works really, really well mixed together as well. We get really beautiful Spanish white anchovies that we're using for our dressing. So, you know, I would say that adds kind of an extra special layer to how we approach such a strong flavored ingredient like that.
Do you have fun with the menu? Do you have fun with the changes of the seasons and new ingredients and finding new places to source, or knowing you can rely on others?
It's the main driver in this building, and that's why we change it whenever we have to, whenever we can, whenever we have new ideas, because we need to keep it fun and fresh for, you know, everybody involved. You know, from the staff to, you know, notably the diners. You know, they need to be engaged and they need to continue to be seeing new and interesting things.
We were really talking about, you know, how we work as a community with our local farmers, our local distillers, with our, you know, even as much as we can incorporating the art here. I think it's really important that we're all working together to make us all be successful. Especially as small businesses, it's important to get each other to where we deserve to be with that passion and the care.
Absolutely, and peers in the industry and honoring the people who have gone before you, and also considering other business owners and restaurant owners as colleagues and peers and friends.
And mentors and like all of it, it's important. So we made our version of a espresso martini because everybody loves an espresso martini.
I know, they do.
So we put a little twist on it. We are featuring 801 coffee, which is again local, which we absolutely love Alex. We chose to go with some Sugar House vodka in there.
Nice,
again, local, right? Liquor 43, which you're not going to find very often in an espresso martini. So we just wanted to do something fun, a little bit different to incorporate our own version of a popular cocktail. So this is Love Me Espresso.
Love Me Espresso. Oh, that's so cute.
We put a little twist on a French 75 where we're featuring Holy Stone, which we absolutely love. They're here in Murray. Barbie and Mike are just absolutely fantastic. The Holy Stone Gin for the Cerula, she actually gives a portion to breast cancer awareness, which is fantastic. Her, unfortunately, she was diagnosed with breast cancer this year. So it's just the support on the support on the support, right?
Absolutely.
So we make it in-house a lavender simple syrup to put in there, just give it a little summery twist.
Beautiful.
So super fun. And then we love having our non-alcoholic program as well. So these are always fun that we are actually getting from Caputo. So you can do a phony Negroni or a phony Mezcal.
Okay.
But most of our mocktails we've gone through and made sure that we can make as our cocktails as mocktails. So you've got like a really good fun mix of everything.
I mean, I just feel like you both like put your heart and soul into this restaurant, into the food that's on the plate, into the choosing the art that you see on the walls, into the way that it feels when you walk in. It really is so unique. I mean, it's like beyond a neighborhood gem. It really is an oasis where everyone feels like they're Angie's best friend. Everybody loves the food and the care that Drew creates, and it's just, I'm just so proud of you. Just thank you for showing us what like the restaurant community can be, and for allowing yourself to grow and evolve, still honor the people that you came from, and then just putting your heart and soul on a plate. It really is so special.